Digital ID. It's a massive topic. We've already done a interview around this. We had a good conversation about it, and a lot of people are quite worried about it because at the moment the UK seems to be implementing it. But like I said before, I'm kind of, I'm in Croatia here. We've pretty much got a digital ID. It might not be called that, but I think most European countries have got a digital ID. You have your ID card, you need it to log into your system. It's your, you need to take it with you wherever you go. It can get you across borders in Schengen and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's a big topic, this one, Steve, and I know something that you know a lot about. What do you sort of think on the security and in this context and the digital arms race that's we're sort of staring in the brink of?
Hi. Just by way of background, first digital ID that I was involved with was maybe 20 years ago. We had a rather large database, financial database, if you will. It was revolved around credit cards, use of credit, and all of that. At the time, it was massive, maybe 110 million, 120 million people, which represented a significant majority of households in the United States. And we never created an environment where we suggested even remotely anything having to do with somebody being credit worthy. It was just raw data. And how was it used? It would actually create a digital footprint for retailers when they were extending credit, and beyond that, impacting shipping a product, for example. Big retailers would not ship a very large shipment to any given household, although the credits appear to be accurate without looking into some financial background, because that's how they unearth anywhere from small to significant fraud. Now, in just a couple sentences, you and I talk about the two aspects of digital ID. One is the public and one is the private. And starting with private, there are three things you look at private. First of all, what does the private sector do? What kind of data do they aggregate? How much of it and how? The benefits of that to the businesses that use it, and they are from ease of sales to some security benefits, and then the benefits or detriment to the consuming public. There are both. They do have some benefits from it, mostly logistical efficiency. How about just not remembering the password and a login, really? And how about making that easy purchase by just hitting buy now, and out pops the pop-up that says, we're going to use this credit card number ending in these numbers for you, boom. And then the transaction is seamless. It's quite astounding. Okay, now on the other side is the public version of digital IDs, starting backwards. The UK mandate, if you will, is incredibly alarming. Which have in Croatia, it's as easy as it seems on the surface to the consumer. It's really alarming. What we have here in the United States, we certainly have the second biggest digital ID on earth, which is called Social Security numbers. My Social Security number is something I got when I was 15 and a half years old. And when I had to get one, it's still the same today. The question I've asked is if there are arguably 240 million adults in America, don't know how many, but in a population of 350 million, statistically 220 or so are adults. Then how come there are 500 million Social Security numbers? Does that suggest perhaps a flaw in the system? But it's not a flaw in the Social Security system, it's a flaw globally as to the US governmental behemoth, whatever the heck that is. So bottom line is we have that. But the biggest ID is in fact in China. It's actually called the social score. And as I said before, and I will say again, I read a bit about that. By the way, if anybody listening to this is interested in anything about what is happening in China, social, economic, military, political. Read Gordon Chang. Gordon has clarity that no one else in America has. But what happens, again, the digital ID in China aggregates the social score, which is what we are doing here now. We're doing it. It's just not quite there. And hopefully it's not a nefarious purpose. In China, if you buy a book, that adds or detracts from your social score. If you get a job, it does that. You get in a car, well, you go to the theater, you buy a theater ticket, whatever that movie is, it adds or detracts from your social score. It is astounding. It's trillions of data points every day that are being assembled and brought down to a single unit.
Steve, on that, the according to some figures that I got, China's surveillance network has expanded to over 800 million AI-enabled cameras, and data from that network feeds into a system that's restricted already more than 30 million people from purchasing plane or high-speed train tickets. That's indeed just insane. It's insane.
Here's a nightmare, and then I'm done with this for a moment. The nightmare scenario is that digital score, that social score, and as it continues to build, some people's social score drops to a level where the Politburo, the CCP, deems those people not superfluous, but actually a drain on the Chinese economy. So in context of the size, okay, so it's 1 million or 2 or 3 or 10 or 20 or 50 million of those people, 100 million of those people. 100 million is a lot of people, but it's irrelevant to the total population of China and the way that system runs. So what happens when those people become nothing more than a drain on society? Because you have to feed them and ultimately have to care for them. And they're not having children, which is an interesting aspect of the whole Chinese.
It's a big dilemma they've got going on, yeah.
Listen, they are, without a doubt, they are the singularly best long game players in the history of the world. But so I default to the unthinkable. And the unthinkable for me is historical. It wasn't that many years ago when Mao decided that there were 50 million people in that country that were in fact superfluous, and they were in some way contrarian to whatever the heck it is that syphilis infected man thought was to go forward. And he eliminated them. And what did the world say? Oh, that's over there. That's not the first time. I mean, I go back to Russia, the Soviet Union, if you will. Stalin, who was a diplomatic, if there was a moment in time when Stalin was not drunk, historians haven't found it yet. But remember, he also eliminated 40 million Russians. Why? 40 million people who didn't want that regime? Wow. I mean, put in context. And what did the world say? Wow, that's over there. So the nightmare scenario with creating the really, really specific thing about you, me, and so on, which determines our value, that's the nightmare of the digital ID, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, I agree completely. But there's also a lot of stuff going on in the corporate surveillance world, basically, and I found that quite interesting. So the drive for productivity and security has basically created a market for employee monitoring. So by 2025, so right now, by the end of 2025, I think over 85% of large corporations are doing some form of employee monitoring. So keystroke logging, video analysis. So basically that's up 50% from before 2020, right? Mm-hmm. So, these things are quite crazy, really, when you sort of think about it. And that's driven a push for data-driven performance metrics, basically, obviously because of hybrid work and stuff like this. But that market is actually projected to be $7.5 billion industry by the end of this year. And it's quite nasty, really. Like having someone like leaning over your shoulder to make sure that you're sort of doing what you're supposed to be doing is a difficult thing. But literally now, a Gartner report recently from the second quarter this year indicated that 1 in every 3 of these companies are using monitoring software, and they're actually leveraging AI for sentiment and behavioral analysis. So they're basically, and that will include like Slack messaging. There'll be all sorts of things that they're basically, so they're predicting what these people are doing, and obviously they will take action. I believe, based upon what these machines are telling them, which is it's quite worrying. I mean, imagine having a bad day and then the AI has gone, oh, he's having a bad day, but they don't notice you're having a bad day. So the AI has said, well, he hates the company, he hates what he's doing, and he needs to be on report or something. I mean, it's a bizarre state of affairs that we're in, really.
That's bizarre, and as you said, it's really frightening. Just a top line idea here is word to the wise. You work for that company. You sit at the desk at this computer, and you're gonna rebel because the company installs a keylogger on your keyboard. Now, the company knows what you're typing and who you're sending it to. It's your work day. It's their computer, their time. Just a little side comment. If I'm the boss and I'm going to train my lizard, my AI, I'm going to say, hey, AI, dude, lady AI, just a top line idea. I'm not interested when my employees are complaining about me, the boss. Not interested. Now let's move on from there. Build it from there. I remember many years ago when I was a kid, I went into my boss's office and I was really upset by something one of my colleagues, a VP or something, was saying about the boss. Now, I liked my boss. I was subservient to my boss and all of that. But I said, I think that's just like a cancerous thing. And I expected my boss to become very agitated, very upset, and deal with it with an iron fist. You have to get rid of this guy because that kind of attitude is cancerous. So he put his arm around me, absolutely out of character, said, hey, if I was worried about what people said about me, that's all I would do. So I said, okay, so bitching about the boss is an occupational hazard of being an employee. Good. Hey, AI guy, lady, hey, Elon, or whatever AI you happen to love, say, okay, I'm not interested when they're complaining about the boss. Not interested. And I want to build an algorithm that qualifies to complain about the business. Oh, I hate being here. The place is giving me a headache. I want a bigger desk. I hate my boss. Okay, that has a value of 1.5 on a scale of 100. I believe that factory in Kuala Lumpur has serious issues. How come they're not dealing with a fire hazard? Okay, now that has a value of 72.3. Build that algorithm for me. That's what I want. Now, in terms of my political views, the AI lady or guy should say, I don't care. There's a problem with Social Security, but I do care about a virulent idea having to do with what must be conformity in my company. I cannot tolerate it. Why? Because that same person that expresses that view will one day act out against the company because that represents, hey, don't know how to tell you this, but you spend more time there than doing anything else, including sleeping. That is, okay. And let me say this. I remember distinctly counseling people more than once about this. when they hit the skids in their life. You know, when a man or woman walks at the office and says, I'm distraught, my life is over. My wife decided to get a divorce. We had 3 kids. We don't have enough money. And I'm just completely distraught. And I dipped back to an experience I had. And I said, let me just suggest this. When you're in trouble, identify the anchors that you have in your life. That would be the predictable stuff, good, bad, or not. Your number one anchor is not your parents, it's not your shrink, it's not your lawyer, it's your job. Why? Because you go there predictably at 8 in the morning and you're there till 6 in the evening, and you know what? The boss is going to be just as awful as he was yesterday. The work is unrewarding, just as was yesterday. Too much, you don't get paid enough, all of that. But it's there and it's predictable. It will happen again tomorrow, day after day after. That's an anchor. That is a huge part of your world that is stable. Now, that creates a mindset. You know what? I don't want to go to work, but you know what? It's cool. I'm going to go to work, spend a good productive day, and so on. Now, the fundamental question is one of surveillance. As an employer, you and I have the absolute right to demand accountability for our people's time. What you do outside of work is your business. What you do here is the company's business. Now, yes, I really want to put enough controls, if you will, and tracking in your work, in your daily life, so I know that whereas you may or may not be really productive, but you're not counterproductive to the business. Because you being counterproductive infects a lot of people. That's just cancerous to organization. So I feel some genuine dichotomy in your original question. How much surveillance? What type of surveillance? Now, which means that, and this is a big topic, we talked about it for 2 hours yesterday. What does a quality, sophisticated, successful leader do to use AI? And how do you use it? And how do you misuse it? And how do you abuse it? And how you use it to your own detriment? It's so simple. Just throw an AI at it. No, it is not. In fact, that is the failure that you and I and others discuss at nauseum. What is the failure at the top level executives in using AI? Is to assume they can throw it at it because you are the one who's going to design the algorithm. Now, if you just want something off the shelf and can't, best of luck to you. This topic is so big and so potentially beneficial to the company and every employee, which to me is equally important, as it is detrimental to every employee, all the stakeholders, etc. To just throw that out there is astoundingly limited. Okay, how about some old-fashioned meetings with who? All the stakeholders in your business. That could be the guy who sweeps the floor in Kuala Lumpur. Could be the outside consultants you have. Let's get together and decide what is really important. Then build the digital ID based on that. Exactly. So you know what? I don't really care if I remember the first time I ran into this and I rebelled. Oh, I blew a gasket. Right. As we grew our little business, we hired a lot of people from big companies, you know, the Factors and the Heinzes and, you know, and all that. And a senior guy walked in one day and said, we are going to limit the use of outgoing telephone calls. Say what? I'm working 100 hours a week. You're going to tell me how many, you just spent 30, 40 minutes more out making, and we're going to track the numbers people call because there are a lot of people abusing that privilege. To be sure, there were people out there talking for 2-3 hours with their cousin or friends. Not on my dime, he said. I rebelled. How could you? It took a while for me to understand the benefit, but we did change that to make it people friendly, if you will. We went about and told people we want to do this. We want to say, this is why we're doing it. This is what we propose to do about it. So saying, starting Tuesday, we monitor all your phone calls, the numbers you call, duration of your calls. And by the way, you can get fired for abusing it. Right. You want to put a company on hold for days and hours, whatever, just do that. So at least some of the people that we worked with were smart enough to say, whoa, you can't just blow the thing up, because people are habitually doing that. Much the same as people habitually do this. One more thought. I went into a big room, 75 people at cubicles. Everybody had headphones on. Everyone was pounding the keys. And this is the biggest distributor of music in the world. Mm-hmm. And I went in there with a man that runs it, and I said, what do these people do? Well, they work on the corporate website, which, by the way, we redid in 2 days with the help of 2 kids. And I said, what did they all have headphones on? Well, we're a music company, listen to music. What did they do 8 hours a day? Well, so we then went back to the office and looked at the website and said, whatever the heck it is they do, you and I can do while having lunch. Mm-hmm. Now, while they thought it was bad form to police that, are you kidding? I said, well, based on that, 70 of the 75 are superfluous.
Yeah, absolutely.
By the way, they were.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but that's a very positive outcome, really. I mean, at the end of the day, and there are lots and lots of people that are doing the same thing in many of these corporations. But with this technology trend in reshaping identity, right? We've basically got this arms race, haven't we, that's going on between authentication and impersonation. Biometric authentication revolution is going on. And apparently the global biometrics market itself is going to surpass $68 billion this year. More than 70% of all online payment authentications are now secured by biometrics, making passwords obsolete in high value transactions. But following the full implementation of EIDAS, just had to check that, 2.0, over 100 million EU citizens are projected to have an active government recognized digital identity wallet on their smartphones by early 2026. So this is quite serious. I'm not positive about what's going on with governments at the moment. I am quite worried about what is actually happening, and I think, hopefully we have some leaders who are going to do and use this technology in the right way. But the good news is that we've got some very good AI-driven preventative measures, because there are so many threats that are basically going on right now with identity fraud. So, I mean, I think having this biometric authentication and these kind of methods, I think it's going to be a good thing for preventing fraud. However, I'm not hugely positive about the UK's implementation of it, because they have a bad track record of implementing technologies, and it's not a matter of if it's going to get hacked, it's a matter of when in the UK, really, to be honest.
I want your thought on this. I keep saying that, people who steal cars wake up in the morning, focus is stealing the car. And they find very clever ways to bypass alarm systems, and they steal a car. Reactively, the people who make alarms immediately find a way to combat that, which makes them basically riding the back of that bus.
Right.
So, you know what? The answer to that is protections are so restrictive as to make normalcy a casualty. So I'm asking you, so if you are the man, the person who can drive that particular initiative in the UK. How do you limit it, or how do you expand it?
Wow, that's a huge question. I mean, I think,
well, you're a really smart
it's cost
guy, and you
cutting.
think
I mean,
about this. So go ahead.
it's predominantly cost cutting is what they're using it for now. And I mean, they start out saying that it's going to be used for one thing, and then they're like, well, we're going to use it to get rid of illegal immigrants. It's just like, well, yeah, but actually, you probably, if you were completely honest, you probably have a database of everybody that's in the United Kingdom anyway. You probably, in my opinion, you probably know exactly who the illegal immigrants are anyway. And you could deport them anyway if you really, really wanted to. And that was just an excuse to run this technology through, frankly. And I think it's going to be used eventually, well, in the next 5 years, probably, to restrict movement. It will be used to restrict airplane flights abroad. It'll be used to restrict driving out of 15-minute locations within where you live. You'll be forced to use public transport, which supposed to be cheap, but actually it is not cheap. It may come down in price, but I don't see that happening. And it's really unfortunate. It's an unfortunate situation the United Kingdom is in. They are hemorrhaging money on all sorts of things, and I'm deeply worried about my friends and people I care about over there. And it's very worrying. The entire thing is worrying, if I'm perfectly honest. But there are just so many improvements that could be made if it was actually run in an ethical way, and it was there to actually improve people's lives instead of improve administration. It needs to be looked at as the government are public servants, and they need to be looked at as public servants, and they need to see themselves as public servants instead of overlords that are suppressing the native population, in my personal opinion. But that's another whole long conversation. And if you are listening to this, we'd love to hear your opinion on digital ID. We're always interested in people's opinions on stuff like that. And do go and check out the other video. I will drop that somewhere, probably on the YouTube channel, for a link for you, so you can check that out. And do subscribe to Monday Influencer. You can get a month $1 trial, and you will not regret that. Thank you, Steve. It's been super. Thank you.